Angela Rayner, Deputy Prime Minister and Secretary of State for Housing, Communities, and Local Government, is now fighting for her political survival as she becomes engulfed in a scandal that threatens to shake the very foundations of British democracy. Did you know that over 95% of our viewers aren't subscribed to the channel? We totally get it, life gets busy, and sometimes it's easy to forget. But here's the thing, subscribing is completely free, and it really helps us keep creating the content you enjoy. So why not hit that subscribe button and join our community? It only takes a second, but it makes a world of difference to us. Thank you for your support. At the heart of the storm are allegations that Rayner abused her position to delay critical local elections across 9 major councils, a move her critics claim was a deliberate attempt to stifle the surging popularity of Reform UK. The backlash has been ferocious, drawing sharp condemnation not only from opposition leaders but also from legal experts, political analysts, and even members of her own party. In an emotional and fraught defense before Parliament, and later in a tense courtroom scene, Rayner reportedly broke down in tears, overwhelmed by the avalanche of criticism and public fury. She insisted that the decision to postpone the elections until May 2026 was necessary to allow for a smooth transition from a 2-tier local council system to a more streamlined, unitary authority model. However, that explanation has done little to stem the outrage. Under Rayner's directive, over 5 million voters across East Sussex, West Sussex, Essex, Thurrock, Hampshire, the Isle of Wight, Norfolk, Suffolk, and Surrey will now be denied the opportunity to cast their votes this year. The timing of the announcement, coinciding with growing momentum for Nigel Farage's Reform UK party, has only fueled suspicions that the postponements were politically motivated. In her parliamentary address, Rayner sought to portray the decision as a reluctant but necessary act. She stressed that the government's default policy is to hold elections as scheduled unless there are exceptionally compelling reasons to delay them, claiming that only around half of the council's requests for postponement were granted after rigorous scrutiny. She framed the delays as a matter of fiscal responsibility, arguing that it would be senseless to spend millions holding elections for councils that are soon to be abolished and replaced. Any party demanding elections at all costs must explain to taxpayers why they support throwing away their hard-earned money, Rayner challenged defiantly. Yet her critics remain unconvinced. Nigel Farage, leader of Reform UK, wasted no time in denouncing the move as a brazen sabotage of democracy. In a fiery statement, Farage accused Rayner and the government of cowardly interference, claiming they feared the rising tide of public support for his party, particularly in regions such as Essex and Thurrock where Reform UK was poised to make unprecedented gains. Political analyst Lord Haywood echoed these sentiments, telling The Telegraph that Thurrock, one of the councils where elections were cancelled, was Reform UK's prime battleground. Had the elections proceeded as planned, Reform UK stood a very real chance of securing control of a local council for the first time in its short but meteoric existence. Haywood pointed out that Thurrock had historically been a stronghold for UKIP, the party Farage once led, and that voter dissatisfaction with both Labour and the Conservatives had created a perfect storm for Reform UK to capitalise on. Cancelling these elections isn't just bureaucratic reshuffling, Haywood argued. It's a political lifeline for Labour, at the cost of democracy itself. Adding to Rayner's woes, Conservative Shadow Housing Minister Kevin Hollenrack launched a scathing attack on her restructuring plans. He accused Rayner of dressing up a cynical power grab as a noble act of devolution, claiming the reality was far different. According to Hollenrack, rather than empowering local communities, Rayner's reforms would create new layers of governance more beholden to Whitehall than to the people. He warned that the restructuring would lead to greater centralization of power, advancing a socialist agenda that has no clear mandate from the electorate. Meanwhile, legal challenges are rapidly gathering momentum. Reform UK has vowed to pursue court action to overturn the decision, accusing Rayner of violating democratic principles and abusing executive authority. Early reports from court proceedings suggest that the pressure is taking a visible toll on Rayner. Sources close to the hearings described an emotional scene where Rayner, faced with fierce legal questioning and a packed courtroom, broke down in tears, her voice faltering as she attempted to defend her actions. Legal experts suggest that the case could set a historic precedent, as accusations of political interference in democratic processes are among the gravest charges a sitting minister can face. This isn't just about local councils anymore, one senior barrister remarked. It's about whether voters can still trust that elections are free, fair, and unmanipulated by those in power. The stakes could not be higher. Should Rayner be found to have acted unlawfully, it would almost certainly end her political career, and could spark wider calls for a general election. For now, the government maintains that the decision was lawful, pragmatic, and in the best interests of a smoother transition to new local governance structures. Rayner herself continues to insist that difficult but necessary decisions had to be made to prevent unnecessary chaos and waste. Yet outside Westminster, the mood is turning darker. Across the cancelled councils, campaigners and voters alike express feelings of betrayal and disenfranchisement. Reform UK, sensing an opportunity, is already mobilizing supporters with a rallying cry of "Defend Democracy." As the legal battle looms and the political fallout intensifies, one question hangs heavy in the air. Has Angela Rayner fatally miscalculated, or is this merely the beginning of an even deeper crisis for British politics as a whole? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain, Britain is now watching, waiting, and demanding answers. As court proceedings intensify, the political consequences of Angela Rayner's fateful decision to postpone local elections are becoming more severe by the hour. What began as a controversial administrative move is now evolving into a full-blown political disaster, leaving Rayner's reputation within the cabinet, and the nation, hanging by a thread. Fresh polling has only deepened the crisis. In a stunning turn, Reform UK has recorded its highest level of public support to date. According to the latest Find Out Now survey of 2,487 English adults conducted just yesterday, Nigel Farage's Insurgent Party has surged to 29%, climbing 2 points in a single week. Labour trails at 25%, also up slightly, while the once mighty Conservatives have plummeted to a humiliating 18%, their lowest point in recent history. The Liberal Democrats edged up to 13%, and the Greens held steady at 10%. Reform UK Chairman Zia Isef heralded the results as a historic turning point. For the first time, the Conservative Party has fallen below 20% in national polling, while Reform UK edges ever closer to 30%, Isef declared. Britain is preparing for real, profound change. The numbers alone would be enough to terrify the political establishment, but the timing compounds the damage. The surge comes amidst Farage's growing confidence, with the Clacton MP boldly stating that he believes he now has a 35% to 45% chance of becoming the next Prime Minister. Speaking candidly to the Evening Standard, Farage acknowledged he would willingly step aside should a younger, more dynamic leader emerge, stressing that he holds no illusions of personal indispensability. "I am not arrogant," he said. "If someone better comes forward, I will gladly make way." Yet for now, he remains the undisputed standard-bearer of Reform UK, and the greatest immediate threat to the established order. Farage was quick to attribute Reform UK's success not merely to immigration concerns, but to a broader disillusionment with Britain's ruling parties. He pointed to a 10 million population increase over the past 2 decades, arguing that it has placed unbearable pressure on housing, healthcare, and community cohesion. "We speak openly about the real issues, family, community, country, the values the British people care about, and that successive governments have shamefully ignored," Farage asserted. He further warned that the next general election may see economic hardship eclipse immigration as the dominant voter concern, suggesting Reform UK is well positioned to capitalize on a wave of economic discontent as well. And as if Angela Rayner didn't have enough troubles, another storm is brewing, this time around the deeply emotive Hillsborough disaster. In an astonishing development, a lawyer instrumental in drafting the long-promised Hillsborough Law has delivered a stinging public rebuke to the Prime Minister, accusing the government of betraying the families who have fought for justice for 36 painful years. The image is damning: a government that publicly pledged to end state cover-ups, then quietly watered down its commitment behind closed doors, hoping no one would notice. But people have noticed. And they are not staying silent. Last year, Sir Keir Starmer stood before the Hillsborough families in Liverpool, solemnly pledging that a powerful new law would be enacted to coincide with the 36th anniversary of the disaster. Yet when the day arrived this year, there was only silence. No bill. No action. No justice. Elin Abrahamson, the human rights lawyer who helped draft the original Hillsborough Law, did not mince his words. This is not just a delay, he said. It is a betrayal. The original Hillsborough Law was rooted in three simple, powerful principles. Public officials must cooperate with investigations proactively. They must not lie, obstruct, or mislead bereaved families or the public. Victims must receive fair legal funding to challenge state bodies on an equal footing. Basic, common-sense measures to prevent future tragedies and cover-ups. Yet the government's newly revealed draft has hollowed these principles out, transforming clear commitments into vague, toothless platitudes. Abrahamson compared the betrayal to promising a Ferrari and handing over a battered unicycle. The dilution of the Hillsborough Law has sent shockwaves through other communities too. Those who suffered through the Grenfell Tower fire and the contaminated blood scandal know all too well the cost of state cover-ups. Their support is swelling behind the Hillsborough families, turning what was once a narrowly focused campaign into a broader, national movement demanding transparency and accountability. The message is clear: the British public is growing weary of broken promises, half-truths, and the politics of delay. And this latest betrayal risks igniting a public reckoning far beyond the corridors of Westminster. In the midst of all this, Angela Rayner's political future looks bleaker by the day. With Reform UK rising, Labour facing accusations of betrayal, and the Conservatives in freefall, the country appears on the brink of a once-in-a-generation political upheaval. The question now facing Britain is stark: will the public continue to tolerate a political class that bends the rules to serve itself, or will the storm that is now gathering sweep them all away? Buckle up. The reckoning is only just beginning. Their families have waited patiently. Silently. Decades have passed since that devastating day at Hillsborough, yet justice has remained stubbornly out of reach. The truth was known long ago: police fabricated evidence, lied to the public, and a system rigged in favor of the powerful trampled over the powerless. Now, after 36 long years, they have been promised closure, and once again, it seems that promise may be slipping away. Leading the charge against this betrayal is Elkin Abrahamson, a lawyer who has fought tirelessly for the Hillsborough families. His warning to the government could not have been clearer: if Westminster believes it can quietly dilute its promises and hope the public turns a blind eye, it is gravely mistaken. "We will make it clear," Abrahamson said, "that the government has broken our trust and betrayed its word." And his message to the politicians was even starker. Do not imagine that a few soft words in a press release will be enough to make this go away. You might think, given the sensitivity, that the Prime Minister, the very man who once pledged solemnly to deliver justice, would step forward at this critical moment to reassure the families. Well, not quite. In what many are calling one of the most astonishing political missteps since Boris Johnson's infamous lockdown parties, Sir Keir Starmer quietly cancelled a planned meeting with the Hillsborough families, just weeks before the crisis erupted publicly. The official excuse: his schedule was too full. The timing: suspiciously coincidental. The truth: painfully obvious. As whispers of a watered-down Hillsborough Law began to spread across Westminster, the Prime Minister ducked the conversation he had once promised to lead. It is a bitter pill for the families to swallow, and a shocking lesson for Britain's political class. For 36 years they have waited. For 14 years since the Hillsborough Independent Panel was established, they have fought. And still, the government says it needs more time. More time for what, exactly? One might ask if they are drafting legislation or building the Sagrada Familia. But behind the anger, the delays, and the excuses lies a deeper, more uncomfortable truth. Can Britain still believe that those in power will ever voluntarily hold themselves accountable? The Hillsborough families have lived through governments of every color. They have been offered sympathy and solemn words aplenty, but meaningful action has remained elusive. They have become accidental legal scholars, forced to master complex processes simply to defend the most basic truth, that their loved ones mattered. When Starmer pledged to pass the Hillsborough Law, it was seen as a landmark moment, an acknowledgement that the machinery of the state had failed these families, and that genuine change was not merely desirable but absolutely necessary. Yet now, history threatens to repeat itself. Grand promises quietly shriveling into hollow technicalities. Bold declarations reduced to dusty administrative notes. But this time is different. Abrahamson and the families have made it clear, they will not accept vague platitudes and endless delays. Either the government keeps its word, or it faces a confrontation it may not win. Either deliver what was promised, or face the consequences, Abrahamson said bluntly. Already, support for the Hillsborough families is growing far beyond Merseyside. Communities still scarred by the Grenfell Tower fire, by the contaminated blood scandal, by countless other betrayals are rallying to their side. A quiet coalition of the wronged is forming, and it will not be easily silenced. A battle is looming. And if there is one thing Britain should have learned by now, it is that the Hillsborough families do not give up easily. So, where does the story go from here? We have a Prime Minister bound by his own public promises, and now seemingly struggling to fulfill them. We have broken families, once again forced to fight for the bare minimum of justice. And we have a government learning a hard lesson, that some promises cannot be abandoned in silence. In the coming weeks, we will discover whether Sir Keir Starmer's government has the courage to deliver the law these families were promised, or whether it will continue to dilute, delay, and deny. But one thing is certain. The country is watching. And it will not forget. And now we ask you. Backhand index pointing right, should the Prime Minister honor his original commitment to the Hillsborough families, or do you believe the government is justified in seeking more time? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you want to stay updated on the stories behind the headlines, from Westminster to Whitehall, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. At British Insight, we don't just report the news. We dive deep into Britain's most important stories, quietly compelling, always sharp. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next video.